question. Just for frame of reference, this is obviously I-40. This is exit 196 here with Highway 70 here. This is where the Bellevue 1 is now. This is an older aerial, apparently. This is the subject parcel. They are going to try to stick the 417 unit apartment complex on this very narrow sliver, and I'll show you that in more detail in just a little bit. This is our neighborhood here, plus houses up here, just a few, 8 houses I think up here. And this is the parcel in question is of specific focus to us. And here is River Plantation, which, if you know, 2010 flood was largely underwater. During the flood. I'm going to show you some flood aerials here in just a minute, but that's the basic gist of this particular area. This is the walking trail here. It terminates here just south of the CSX tracks. Section here, but talking about the termination of the walking trail here, it doesn't terminate there just because. It terminates there because there is this what I call the North Critical Drainage Channel, and we'll talk a lot more about that here later on in the video. But it didn't stop there just because. It stopped there because there's this channel here. It's actually shown on the plat as the walking trail loops back into itself like a 9 here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But the point is really important here, that it doesn't just stop there because that's where they stopped. It stops there because they didn't, and they're not supposed to interfere with that drainage channel. I call it the 9 coming back. It even gives the specified width of the trail to be about 8 feet. So was not an accident that it looped back there. It's shown as terminating. This is the Harpeth River. The Harpeth River flows in this direction, going this way. Okay. As a historical note, see it a little better. Sorry, I'm kind of wheeling around here, but the Harpeth River actually used to flow all the way up here and then come back down. But they moved the river south of where the interstate is when they put the interstate in. And my understanding is that's because they didn't want to have to build a second bridge. So instead, they just rerouted the entire river south. The net result of that is that you basically have lowlands here, which turns into wetlands when it rains hard. So that's why this area here is soccer fields. It's owned by the state, but they're not useful for anything else because it floods all the time. And I'll show you that more in detail in just a minute. So here's the same area, looking at it through Nashville's parcel viewer system. This is what you're looking at right now is 2023 imagery. What I'm going to do is switch to the 2010 flood imagery and show you kind of what I was talking about before about the lowland area here. So as you can see, this is the outline of the old river before they moved it, with Interstate 40 bisecting that area. You can actually see that this is Interstate 40 here is clear and passable. So this imagery is actually after the crest, because for almost 2 days, I believe, Interstate 40 was impassable, and so the water was considerably higher than actually what is seen here. So you can still see the remnants of the flood, but it's passable right now in this image. So here you can see how, even though the water has gone down, how jeopardized these homes were here. Their mailboxes were underwater. A number of them flooded almost up to the second story, I believe. And all of this area is underwater. And I'll show you some pictures of that from actually this hillside right here looking out. I'll provide some pictures of what this looked like from that point of view. This is obviously the flood detention system area here. that I'm going to talk about. And this is the, sorry about this. This is the course of the river here. So what I'm going to do now is insert the FEMA flood overlay. So obviously dark blue is the floodway. The close hashes are 100-year floodplain, and then the broader hashes are 500-year floodplain. So the regulatory standard to get something approved in Nashville, and it may be nationwide, but it's in Nashville, is that if it has an effect on the 100-year floodplain, it cannot be approved, or else it's less likely to be approved. They don't look at all to the 500-year floodplain as far as regulatory considerations. They have acknowledged that this project is going to affect the 500-year floodplain, and that's concerning to us because, as you can see here, there are a number of homes that are in the 500-year floodplain, for starters. So that means if they flood, they will flood worse. And there are a couple here that flooded, and there are parts of the homes that were saved. There's one home here that it was up to their crawl space, but the rest of their home was spared, and any rise in the flood level would harm them. There are just about, I think there are 5 or 6 houses that are right on the edge here. And their flood modeling, from what we have seen, does not consider either this area here or these homes here. So if there's something to that, then they should explain that to us, but we have not seen that. We've seen their roughly 400 pages flood modeling, and it doesn't seem to indicate any consideration of what's happening here or here. Just wanted to show you where these next pictures I'm about to show you were taken from. Here's the subject parcel. Here's the neighborhood. These next pictures I'm about to show you were taken from right here, looking this direction generally. So this is a hillside here, and again, looking basically this direction. So I just want to provide that context. So this is the first of 2 pictures from 2010 that I'll show you, and then I'll show you another one from 2021. This is looking basically east, and this is the stormwater detention area here. You can see it's keeping this house dry, and a bunch of other homes dry as well. This is actually the course of the Harpeth River in between these trees here. That obviously it's well past its banks. The next picture is looking more north, and this house, I think, was the first one not to get any water, but don't hold me to that. But most of these homes here did. In fact, this is well before the crest of the river, because it was all of these mailboxes here were fully underwater. And so, yeah, this is at May 2nd at 8:06 a.m. And I'm not sure when the crest was, but it was well after that. So these are the CSX tracks coming through here, and the river crested over those tracks as well. And again, so here's the stormwater detention system protecting this house, and there's a couple more this direction as well. So here's another picture from 2021, and you can really see the stormwater detention area doing its work here. This was, I'm not sure relative to the crest when this was, but you can see here the stormwater detention area is keeping water from coming out of its banks and protecting these homes. So I don't believe, I believe that it actually got across the railroad tracks here, but not quite here, if memory serves. Now, here's the important thing. Well, as you can see, here's the course of the Harpeth River here, going this direction. They want to put and I'll bring this into focus here in a minute, where they want to put the walking trail is basically back right around here, behind these trees. It's very dangerous, and I'll show you in pretty stark contrast why that is. But again, this shows that it's not just the 2010 flood where this stormwater detention area comes into effect. In fact, it's used multiple times, or I say used, it retains water, maybe not quite like this, but retains water to some degree that's visible above ground many times a year. Not just one or two, but quite a few times a year. And again, because of the nature of where the river is, and but this was specifically constructed and designed to do what it's doing right here. So here's that same image just from a little more recently. I'm just going to get you to see where the stormwater detention system is and what it looks like when it's dry. So here it is. There are a series of levees, ditches, and it's a relatively sophisticated system, as I will show you in plans in just a second. You'll see the walking trail there is just adjacent to the riverbank. Okay, so here is the area from a much higher elevation. Obviously, here is the levee system. You can kind of see it under the trees here. And this may take a few minutes, but you can see the walking trail here. You see the water having gathered up here as well, actually coming out of the river there. Again, no rain had fallen here for at least 24 hours. And yet it was dry the day before, and yet here you see it removing water from out of the river. So this is the end of the walking trail. What they want to do is extend this walking trail in through where this water goes, and we're going to look at it very closely here in a second. They want to extend this walking trail in through this area under the bridge, which is up here, and put in a sort of a bridge area, an under the bridge area that is just it's dangerous, and I'm pretty confident it's going to be washing away as well. So actually, I'm going to stop this here, and I'll continue. Let this continue. We're going to go above the trees here, and then back over and go over to the river. I am not a professional drone flyer, so this may not be the smoothest of videos, but here you can see the river having gathered the rain from upstream. Again, had not rained here for more than 24 hours. And so where they want to put this path extension is actually right under here on this bridge. And I'll show you their mock-up of what it is. And this gets to this river stage frequently. It's not a once in a year kind of situation. It's a fairly regular occurrence, and I'll show you another image of it from I think February of 2013. So it gets like this on a fairly regular basis. Again, sorry for the slower video. Hopefully you can watch this on 1.5 speed. But yeah, right here is where they want to put the extension up for the trail, and then have it come out the other side. They're obviously going to have to rip out all of these trees, which are ours, and some of them are CSXs, but most of them are ours, and destroy this riverbank. These trees, are part and parcel of the riverbank. They are an essential part of the riverbank. It's going to cause increased erosion, beyond from just being, it's a safety issue. It will not be a safe location for this. Okay, coming back over the trees here, we'll have another look at the north critical drainage channel here. You can see it's pushed water all the way through up into this pond area. I think we'll be able to see it here in a second. Let's see if I can zoom this, speed this up a little bit. Yeah, so you can see it's already gotten in through this underground culvert, I guess, to this area. You can get a better look at the levee system. So this is from Ariza's most recent application. And what you can see here is their plan for the walkway across there. This is actually looking at it sort of from the opposite direction. The drone footage was coming from this direction, but now we're looking at it this direction. So I'll zoom in here a little bit. Helpful. Whoop. Zoom in more. And so that's what you can get a sense of what they have planned for it. So here's just another instance of the river being at level to wash away that structure. And again, this is a normal sort of rainfall. This is February of 2023, if I remember correctly. And a 500-year flood gets it almost to the top of the tracks. So you don't have to be anywhere near the 500-year flood height to be in a circumstance where it's going to wash away not just the structure, but anybody who's down there. I mean, obviously, people probably try to get out of the way before then, but there are people who sometimes stay under bridges, so it's not just a theoretical concern here. I won't bore you with all of the details of the legal issues, but just for context, we have the plat of the neighborhood. In one of the notes of the plat, it incorporates the stormwater detention agreement, and then the stormwater detention agreement references the Batson site plans. I want to show you the Batson site plans so you can understand how intricate the stormwater detention system is. So we'll get to that in just a second. All right, so here's the site development plans. I call them the Batson plans because that's who they were done by. And you can see this is some of the system, but the majority of the system is shown right here on this page C2. You can see it draws the levees, has the channel here, and the drainage ditch, or the culvert, or whatever that they call that. And so, with all of these different labels and measurements, so it's not something that was just sort of haphazardly thrown together or that was already there before they started developing the property. The whole point of the Batson plans is that the stormwater management agreement requires adherence to the Batson plans. And what they want to do with respect to the riverbank and blocking this channel here is in contravention of the Batson plans. Moreover, there's terms and conditions in the stormwater management agreement, stormwater detention agreement that prohibit them doing what they want to do. Okay, so here's where it gets a little confusing, convoluted, and circular and nonsensical, I think. In order to build this project, the developer needs to get a series of variances granted by the Stormwater Management Commission. This is the developer's application to the Stormwater Management Commission to have these variances granted. According to the law, a certain number of things are required in order to have variances granted, or a variance granted. And it's all these things in this paragraph here. And so 1, 2, and 3, it's all 3 because of the word here is and. So it says the variance request meets the following conditions: a showing of good and sufficient cause, a determination that the failure to grant the variance would result in exceptional hardship, and 3, a determination that the granting of a variance will not result in increased flood heights, additional threats to public safety, or extraordinary public expense, create nuisance, cause fraud or victimization on the public, or conflict with existing local laws or ordinances. So let's just talk about 2 for starters. So let's talk about the hardship, the exceptional hardship. They make a statement as to why they think they have an exceptional hardship. And that is right here. What they say is preventing development of the property by denying the variance would result in exceptional hardship since the variance is required to meet other metro regulations, Metro Planning Commission and Council BL 2023-1968 legislation. That legislation is the SP that the developer designed, negotiated over the course of a couple years with council and the planning commission. And basically what they're saying is we have designed a project that is not in accordance with the law. So they have the bridge, they have to, that is not consistent with the regulations. Raising the Chloe Davis, I guess, also requires a variance, and tearing out the riverbank also requires a variance. And I think there's others as well, but we'll just talk about those for the time being. And so those things were all known at the beginning. So what they're saying now is we have this hardship because we imposed this hardship on ourselves. It makes absolutely no sense. Not to get too much further into the weeds, but they also fail to meet Romanet 3. There will be additional threats to public safety and additional nuisance. Obviously, nuisance is, sort of vague, but they are destroying our trees, taking them against our permission, destroying our riverbank against our permission and in violation of the plat. But they're also actually posing additional threats to public safety. You don't really have to take my word for it, and I'll show you in the stormwater detention agreement why I'm saying what I'm saying. But keep in mind, additional threats to public safety is what they have to prove will not result from their variance. We have the stormwater detention agreement that is by and between Metro Nashville and our HOA. In the penultimate whereas, it states, whereas metropolitan government and landowner agree that the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of Nashville and Davidson County require that on-site stormwater detention facilities be constructed and maintained on the property, and those plans and the detention facilities need to be built in accordance with Plan A, which is the Batson plans. If they were to build the greenway and tear up the riverbank and tear out the trees as they plan to, that would be in violation of the Batson plans. The Batson plans are necessary for the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of Davidson County. And so if they were to do the greenway, it would fly in the face of the requirement Romanet 3 in the variance application.